Well, hey, glad to have you with me for episode number 2 as we're on this journey in this series called Online Connections, Navigating the New Normal. My name is Nathan Teagarden. If you haven't watched the first episode, go back and make sure you watch it. It'll really encourage you and help you to know how to launch your online connections ministry really well. Well, again, I am a campus pastor and a connections director at Summer Park Church in Kansas City, and I want to share some of the things that we have done to help with online connections as it relates to your online service. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and I want to first just share that there is a big difference between online content and online connection. Huge difference. Online content is simply sharing out your service. Maybe you do some online devos on YouTube, make some posts on social media, maybe even do some live videos on Facebook, which are all great. But to have online connection, you have to have a two-way conversation, and they are either actually having that live conversation or the process of getting to that conversation. So that's what an actual connection is. And that's really important for your volunteers to know the distinction between the two. We're not just about pushing out content. Maybe you're already doing that. You probably are in some fashion doing that. Connections is different. You want to engage at a level to where you're actually having a conversation with those that are watching your content, whether they're local in your town or they're across the United States, or maybe they're on the other side of the world. When you have a connection, it's a two-way conversation. Very important distinction between just content and an actual connection. Another thing that's really important for your team to understand is that every viewer can become a connected member of your church, which is really exciting. That they can not only watch the content, but if you actually connect with those individuals, they can make friends and become connected to your church. And that is the goal of connections. It's not just pushing out content online. Again, it's about making connections. And your volunteers have to understand and help them to know that we want to get viewers turned into connected individuals in the church. So you want to help your volunteers know and understand, how do we take an observer, someone watching the content, to actually making a friend. That's the goal. We want the people that are watching to make a friend, to make a connection. So here's what you got to do. All right, it's really this simple. The first step is to get their contact information. This is so important. You've got to make it your goal to get their contact information. So in every part of the service, the beginning, the middle, and the end, you want to give an appeal for them to fill out a connection card. That's really important. If you can get their information, then you can connect with them. If you don't have their information, then there's no way to know who's watching and how you can connect them and help them make a friend at your church. One of the other things that you could do is you can consider having a lower third show up every 5 to 7 minutes throughout your service. That will help those that maybe start watching your online service later after the appeal has been made at the beginning, or maybe they've missed the middle, or maybe they don't stay till the end. It's going to make sure that everyone that's watching is going to see repeated on there a lower third that pops up and tells them how they can fill out a connection card. Also, when you give the appeal for the connection card, I would encourage you to give some kind of gift with it. There's a variety of things you could do. You can offer a Starbucks gift card, or you can even offer to make a donation to a local ministry. Either way, it's giving a gift to them, and it's helping and encouraging them to fill out the information. Also, that individual that makes that appeal, you want to make sure that they're energetic, that they communicate clearly, that the action step isn't confusing. Also, it's best if you don't send people away from the platform. So if it's an online form, oftentimes when they click that, when you put it in the comments, it can send them somewhere else away from Facebook, or if it's on YouTube. You want to make sure that they stay watching your service. So you want to probably use something like Text in Church or another texting service to where they could text in the word like new to the number on the screen or the number in the comments. And then you can start interacting there. Then they can fill out a digital connection card. All right, another element of your online service as it relates to connections that's really important is to have a response host. This individual is specifically tasked with responding to people who are sending in connection cards. And their job is to respond to them immediately after the service, to literally pick up the phone and give them a call. And if they don't answer, then send them a text message right afterwards saying, hey, this is so-and-so from such and such church. We were just so glad that you came and watched our online service. Would love to have a conversation with you. So that's what the response host does, because this is what's really important. The faster you respond, the more likely you're going to get a response back. That's critically important. Too many churches wait 2-3 days to respond to the connection card, and that is a mistake. It needs to be immediately. And if it can't be right after the service, then make sure it's the day of, because that's when people are filling it out, and that's when they're most likely to respond to you. That's when their interest in your church is the highest, and you want to make sure that you're responding and connecting with them. Another part of the online service and connections is your online moderator. This is the individual that represents your church, and whenever they comment in Facebook or on YouTube, they're commenting as your church. And this individual is the one that should be interacting with conversation with those that are logging on and would like to engage in the chat, and also giving information and scripture and song titles. So they have quite a heavy job. They've got to make sure they put a lot of information in the chat. The goal of their job is to encourage interaction and engagement in the service. The more that people engage and move from being just a spectator to being someone who's fully engaged by commenting, the greater chance you have of connecting with them. So this individual should watch the service beforehand. So your pre-recorded service that you premiere, this individual needs to watch it, and they make notes on the service. And so that they can just copy and paste these into the comments, so they're not having to type them live, besides the ones that they're just interacting with people that are logging on, which, by the way, is super important. As soon as people join, even before they say something, that individual needs to be saying, hey, thank you so much for joining. And it's okay if the person doesn't respond. They'll enjoy that even someone noticed them, even if they're afraid to comment in the chat below. So I want to encourage you to make sure that this person's really tech savvy and really fast and able to type quickly, because their role is absolutely critical. It's also important that this individual doesn't ask yes or no questions. They need to ask engaging questions like, how is your weekend? Hey, what have you been up to? Hey, where is everyone watching? Just ask some questions that are not just yes, no questions, but ones that are much more engaging, and try to get as much interaction as possible. That's what the moderator's job is. Make sure that when they type up the action steps for the connection card or prayer requests or any other things that we want those that are watching to do, their action steps need to be very, very clear and succinct and easy to understand. We need to tell people exactly what they need to do, and the job of the moderator is to make that really, really clear. So that's what a moderator does. That role is really important. And so I would encourage you to have one of your best volunteers in that specific role. Or another element of your online service as it relates to connections is the lobby experience. Maybe you've tried this before, but this is basically after the service, or it can be before the service. But this is where you invite everybody, including first-time guests, to come and just hang with you. And there's a variety of ways that you can do this. Really, it works best on Facebook, and that's probably where you're doing your service. Maybe you're doing it also on YouTube, but you can do a Facebook Live. Now, the advantage of Facebook Live is that a lot of people are already on that platform, so they're watching the service, and they can go right from watching your service to the Facebook Live because they're on that same platform. The disadvantage to a Facebook Live is that it's really kind of a one-way conversation. They see you, and you see their comments in the chat, but they can't interact with you. They can't put pictures in the comments. They can't have a live video of themselves. So it's more of a one-way conversation, but there is some still value to that. Or you can use a Zoom call. So that interaction is a lot better. That interaction is much, much stronger. The only disadvantage to that is now you're changing platforms. You're sending people to a different platform. A lot of times guests are hesitant to go to a Zoom call because it's like going into a room where you don't know what's on the other side of the door. And so they're really hesitant to do that. One of the things that you can do to alleviate their fears is actually record a previous lobby Zoom call and then show it during your service to kind of give guests an idea of what that's like. So whenever you promote it in your service, actually cut to a Zoom call where you can see people laughing and interacting and having fun. And that will take a little bit of the mystery out of it for those that are watching to actually go into the lobby, into this Zoom call. Or you can use the webinar feature on Zoom that interacts with Facebook. So you can do a Zoom call or webinar, and then you can broadcast it as a Facebook Live. That is another kind of a complicated way to do it, but oftentimes it can use the power of Facebook and then also have the power of the interaction of a Zoom call. Whatever you decide to do, the idea is to get guests into this Zoom call actually interacting with your volunteers and you as a pastor. You want them to know who you are. You want them to make a friend, and that's the goal behind the lobby. So take away the fear by showing them what it is. Make the lobby fun. Here's the goal. You've got to make sure you make them laugh. Everyone should be laughing. Everyone should have a good time. Ask questions that are fun. Play a game while you're in there. I've even done something like a would you rather questions that just have made people laugh so hard. It's just been a lot of fun. Do something crazy. It should feel like a lobby in a church where people are interacting and laughing. And you can take the mystery out of this by, again, having it a part of your service and putting that little preview video, and so that people are likely to come in, make it fun, make it interactive, and then give them an action step at the end to fill out a connection card. If they'll fill out a connection card, then you can call them up right after that and then make that connection with them. And hopefully our goal is, again, that they would make a friend at your church. So try some of those things with the lobby. Make it fun, make it interactive, and then give them the action step at the end. All right, this last one I'll mention in terms of a component of your online service that can be really powerful is the prayer request. This is something you want to make sure that you have a part of your service. I would encourage you, put it at the beginning, have it at the beginning of each one of your worship songs, and then even at the beginning of the message, and then at the end of the service, that you're encouraging people to text in their prayer requests. You can also have a form that they would fill out. Again, that takes them away from the platform, and that's not so bad if it's at the end of the service. But I would encourage you to use one of these texting services to where they literally text in their prayer requests, because then you could have your response host in live time respond back to them saying, hey, I'm so sorry that situation right there, but I can tell you, we're going to be praying for you. I want to encourage you with this scripture. I mean, how cool is that? That is what we want, not only for our people that are in the church already and connected, but those that are new. Who knows who might come across your church service, be encouraged by the message, be moved to share a prayer request, and then they get an immediate response by your response host. That would be perfect. That's what we want, because then we're making connection with them. So I want to encourage you, have prayer requests as a part of your church service. Not only is that the right thing to do, and then we can help people and pray for them and bear with them in their needs that they have, but also it's a great way to connect with individuals. So make sure you have a prayer request as a part of your service. Okay, the goal of all of this is that we make sure that we get contact information, we have positive interactions with those that come to our online service, and that we put them in a funnel of follow-up. You want to make sure that you have a solid, comprehensive follow-up plan that begins right after they give you the contact information. It starts with that response host, but then from there, if that person's a pastor, great. If it's not the pastor should be following up with these individuals that day to make a phone call. A general rule that I use is I'm going to make 3 phone calls with 3 text messages. And then after that point, if they're not responding, they probably don't want to talk to me. But I'm going to make sure that I'm following up with them. I would encourage you to make sure you have a solid follow-up plan. You can use some texting services that have a workflow to where it will send them text messages and emails, which is great. But there's nothing like that personal contact to where you can follow up with them, make those phone calls, send those text messages, and connect with them. It makes a huge difference for those that are watching our service. Well, I hope this has been encouraging to you and helped give you some ideas of how you can better connect with people at your online services. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode as we talk about small group ministry online. I'll see you then.